All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the one and only, the world famous Rich Wilson Show, running about a half an hour late. That's all right. We're going to have ourselves a show for you tonight. I don't know how long we'll be able to stay on YouTube for this. What do you say we get this show started, shall we? Folks, that's right, it's time for the one and only world famous Rich Wilson Show, and it starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Rich Wilson Show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the late world famous Rich Wilson Show. I'm Rich Wilson. So tonight, we got a fun one for you. There we go. Some coffee with some old dried coffee in the bottom. Gives it a little bit of flavor. So anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about, of course, Uvalde again. And we're also going to talk about the president that has decided to made Memorial Day political. Go figure. Kind of saw that coming. And we're also going to talk about what the problem is with our supply shortages and what's happening to truck drivers out there. That, and if we have time, we'll take your phone calls. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we get started on tonight's show? So, of course, we all know about the shooting in Uvalde. If you haven't, you're living under a rock, and I don't think I need to go down the timeline about what happened. That we've all heard it over and over and over again. And, of course, on social media, everybody has turned into a congressman or congresswoman or a congressperson, and have decided that they want to write laws. All these people with all these great legal ideas, none of them running for office. All these same people sit there, oh, our government's the problem. Not a single one of them running for office to fix the problem. Except yours truly will be in 2 years running for office. So I have a problem with the government, and I'm going to try and get into it to fix it. So let's talk about what's been going on. So far, let's look at the tally that we've got for who everybody is blaming. Okay. Now we'll try to do this tally faster than the Uvalde Police Department showing up to a shooting. Okay, so please work with me here. Okay. So far, we have blamed the gun. Okay. We blamed the gun. We have blamed law enforcement for their lack or their inability to act. We have blamed people, bullies. We have blamed, what else have we blamed now? We have blamed school administrators, not the individual teachers, just administrators. Okay, the school board, I guess. We have blamed the manufacturer of the firearm. We have blamed the gun dealership the gun dealer that sold the guns. We blamed the ammunition. We blamed the conservatives. We blamed the right-wing gun nuts. We blamed the racists. We have blamed the white supremacists. I think that's about where we're at on the blame game. Did you notice somebody I left off the list? The shooter. We every time I turn on the news, with the exception of one outlet, it's everyone else's fault under the sun for the Uvalde shooting except the shooter. Now, of course, people are like, this person's insane. Then all of a sudden, we can't call this person insane. Well, this person was evil. We can't call this person evil. Well, this person's at fault. Well, it's the gun that did it. It's just like the guy that drove through the Christmas parade and killed all those people. Notice how they reported it. It was a red SUV that drove through the people through the crowd. But yet, we blame the Buffalo shooter. We blame the Buffalo shooter because he was a white supremacist. We blame the gunman in Charleston. He was a white supremacist. Notice that when the demographics match certain points, it becomes the gun's fault or it becomes the car's fault. But we're not going to blame the guy who actually pulled the trigger multiple times. Because if that guy would have not ever pulled the trigger, walked in, sat the gun down on the floor, and walked out, guess what? They'd be sitting there staring at a gun on the floor that was doing nothing. So we have a real bad problem in this country about trying to find blame in everything except what's actually at fault. Okay? We seriously try to find the blame in everything. Oh, it's that fault. It's that thing's fault. It's that thing's fault. Okay, guns are inanimate objects that only work when somebody does it. Now, somebody tried to argue with me about, oh, well, if there's a fire in your house and your gun is loaded and the heat heats up the gun goes off. Okay? And you say, well, then a gun goes off without any intervention. Nobody pulled the trigger. No, but some dumbass left their handgun with a round in the chamber sitting there. I'll tell you right now, I don't have a round in the chamber in my gun. I don't. Why? Because half of deterrence is that slide sound when you rack a chamber when you rack a round into the chamber. A guy breaking into your house hears that sound, and a lot of times they'll run. Like, I lived in Durham, North Carolina, and we had somebody screwing around in our yard. I went outside with my dad and my nephew, and I had my shotgun in my hand. I pumped the shotgun, makes a very loud, specific noise. That person was gone. They knew we meant business. Okay? So that is the failure. Now, and then of course they said, well, what about the stored ammunition if it gets hot? Okay. That didn't come from a gun. That was just ammunition. So that defeats your own argument. I saw a post today that said, if you're going to have an argument, if somebody's going to decide to argue with you gun control, ask them what AR means. That's going to solve half of your headaches right there. It's going to save you wasting your time. But anyway, the reason why I talk about this, we find all these different things to blame. But, so, a friend of mine got this today. From Facebook. He received this today. Unfortunately, it happened before he could screenshot the post, and he told me about what had happened. So, people were going on this rant about this and that and this and that and this and that, and he turned around and said, okay, so if we're looking to blame everything, when are we going to start talking about the teacher that propped the door open and left the school unsecured? Because they've changed exactly how it is because they're trying to prevent a lawsuit. So now the teacher unpropped the door, but it didn't secure. Still, teacher unsecured the building and did not verify the building was secured again. Okay. The gunman went through that door. So he made the post. He goes, if we're going to blame the gun, we're going to blame this, we're going to blame that. When are we going to talk about the teacher who unsecured the building? So he posted that. That's what he received. And he kept trying to post and kept getting the auto notification. Okay. This isn't his, okay, replace the 30 with 72 hours. That was the other notice he got from Facebook. And there's a reason why I bring this up. There's a reason why I bring this up. Okay, so let me explain this. Okay, think about this. Now, I'm not saying that anything was intentionally and this was all designed. I'm not saying that. I'm not one of those conspiracy theory nuts. Okay. But think about this. They're really pushing hard to ban weapons, guns, not just assault weapons. That's the icing on the cake for them. The cake is guns. Okay. So think about it. They want to blame the gun. They want to say the gun is the problem. The gun. Okay. So when you try to say, well, what about this? No, I say gun. Well, what about that? Okay. How did he have access to the school? Because here's the thing, okay? The argument has been if you get a good guy with a gun, it will stop this from happening, right? Well, the police department didn't stop it. Good guys with guns didn't do the job. So there was a failure. Okay? But when you try to say, but if the teacher never unsecured the door, we wouldn't have this. He wouldn't have been able to gain access because he would have only been able to go through the front door where you have to hit the buzzer in order for them to let you in. Because every school I've ever delivered to in the last several years now requires you to hit a buzzer and they have to let you in. Sometimes when they see you walking up to the door, they know why you're there. They're expecting you, and the door unlocks as soon as you get to it. But if you have no legitimate reason to be there, they lock the door. And of course, the teacher, and here's the reason why the teacher did this, and I understand why the teacher did it. The teacher heard the shots happening outside, realized they did not have their phone, went to go outside, had to prop the door so they could get back in, went and got their phone, came back in, kicked the rock out from in front of the door shut, but it didn't secure, to call 911. Okay? So I understand why they did it. But they didn't reach back and go, is the door secured? Nope. They just kept right on going. Okay. So when we talk about securing buildings, when you talk about that, because that's been a big push by, a lot of us saying, make it a fortress so they can't get into the school. That action by that teacher shoots a hole in the left saying, the left in their gun thing because somebody left the building unsecured, and it actually fortifies the argument that we're having about we should turn these into fortresses. Okay. So now social media is like, oh, we got to get rid of that. We can't have a counter argument that's legitimate. Every single counter argument that's been made, people on social media have been receiving flags against their accounts, and two different media outlets have proven that their posts have been throttled back from view, making legitimate arguments against it. I heard another one today where people are like, well, if the cops aren't going to go in and protect our children, then maybe you should think about that when they're asking for more funding. Well, if a teacher's going to leave a building unsecured to allow gunmen to get inside, maybe we should think about that when they're asking for more pay. I posted that. I got ready to respond to that, and then I deleted it because I figured, yeah, they're going to take me. They're going to ban my account for that. Look, I understand teachers are underpaid. I get it, but if you're going to make a comment like that, understand one of the things that some people are reviewing on the situation and why the cops responded the way that they did is because they're being trained hard because of all the bullcrap that's going on about all cops are bad bullshit. Okay. To take a less, a less proactive approach and be more reactive, and to not try to break down the door and go in. Okay. And unfortunately, because of this, we're starting to see the crap that's going on with the wokeists about how things should be in this world. We're starting to see it actually break the system apart. Okay. Because the cops are like, we're going to run in there and we're going to do it. But what happens if this happens? And what happens if that? If they have to second guess themselves, they're no longer effective. I can tell you as former law enforcement officer, this is what I would have done. Hey, you, come with me. Let's go. Now they say, oh, they couldn't find their way into the building. There's windows. We can get the hell in there, find a class he's not in, get through the damn window, go through the door, and find the door. At least do something to distract him so he's shooting at us instead of the children. Okay? Do something. But the problem is a lot of these departments are now being taught, don't do these things. Okay? And so Border Patrol and their Special Operations Unit said, we're going in. Actually, the Border Patrol agent that officially shot him, he went in, went to the classroom where his wife is teaching and where his daughter was, secured them while waiting for the rest of the team to come into position, got them out of there, and then moved to the position where the classroom was. They made entry. The guy in the front with the shield took a whole bunch of... the shield got shot, all the shit, and he shot and killed the shooter. I don't know why there's not posts all over social media that are... Well, I know why. That the Border Patrol Special Operations Unit are not heroes. Because some children did survive in that room. Because of this. But we can't do that. Why? Because we went through a whole summer of people like AOC saying that Border Patrol are nothing but a bunch of racists and they're horrible and we should get rid of them. So now the left is stuck. The wokists are stuck going, well, we can't praise the Border Patrol because that goes against what we were told to do. And again, hashtag stop fake hate. I got t-shirts from richwilsonshow.com. Okay? They were told to hate Border Patrol agents. Most of the people that hate Border Patrol agents have no freaking clue what they do. I know. I've asked people, oh, Border Patrol agents are bad and we should disband them. Really? What do they do? Well, they unfairly treat... They unfairly treat Hispanic people trying to get to a better life. Really? That's all they do? Because they do a lot more than that. Okay? They do a lot more than that. And this is why they can't praise them, because they were taught over the last couple summers that all the Border Patrol agents are bad people and they're all racist and they're horrible. So Border Patrol agents and a Special Operations Unit go into the school and kill the shooter, and you're not looking at everybody at Facebook saying this guy's a hero or saying this team is a hero, because we have to hate them. We have to find a reason that this happened, and so we're being told it's guns. So that's what we're going to hate. We're not going to give any credit to the people who actually did something. And trust me, some of the jokes about the Uvalde Police Department have been hilarious. Okay? But we can't celebrate the guys who did this. So I tell you what, the Rich Wilson Show, God bless the Border Patrol Special Operations Unit. There is children alive today because they did the job. God bless them. I'll tell you right now, I will give them credit because they did the job. They got the job done. Schools are not even their thing. That's not their theater of operation. But they got it done. So I give them credit. But like I said, when you go back and you look at the circumstances surrounding this whole thing, we're finding out that this guy followed the typical FBI behavioral analysis profile of a person who commits these kinds of acts. Okay? Torturing animals, killing them, all kinds of stuff. We're finding out this was a sick individual. I was right. This person was insane. The more we're finding out about it. But the problem is, every time you turn on the TV and one of the police officers, one of the captain over there, the police chief, it's another story contradicting what they said 20 minutes ago. I'm just waiting for it to come out going, look, we fucked up. I'm hereby resigning my position as chief of police. Because I don't know that I could live with myself if I made the decision to arrest parents trying to do something when my people weren't doing anything. I don't know that I could stay in that position. I don't think I could sleep at night. I'd be haunted by the screams of the children. I really would. William Square said, did you hear about Chicago school that is doing the grading scale based on ethnicity? Yes. In fact, we've talked about it on this show before. This is the kind of crap. And guess what? In Florida, they arrested a 10-year-old kid who made a threat about going to school to do a shooting. They arrested him. There was another place somewhere where they arrested 2 individuals for posing a threat. They even found a modified AK-47, which is illegal. Then the bad part about it is New York still today came out blaming the state of Pennsylvania for the Buffalo shooter. Here's an idea. Just stop saying that your red flag system failed because somebody did not do their job properly. Admit it. Say we're going to do better. And we're going to try to prevent these things from happening. That's the problem with leadership that we have, including our president. It's everybody else's fault. We saw that for 8 years with Barack Obama. It was always George Bush's fault. Don't get me wrong, George Bush wasn't a great president. But everything for 8 years, if it failed, was Bush's fault. Kill Mill says they evacuated one school in my hometown over a threat found in a restroom and another for nearby shots fired. And the thing is, it's nearby for shots fired. Weren't even in the school, but guess what? That'll go on the statistic list for school shooting. Have you guys seen that popping up lately? I know I talked about it on Wednesday. Have you seen that popping up, the list on how many school shootings they had? The president's only reiterated it 300 times about all these school shootings. And when you go down and look at the list, and if you actually go dig into the Department of Justice where these things are listed, and the FBI, not even half of that was actually school shootings that happened on school grounds. It was within so many feet of the school. Classifies as a shooting at the school. Like I told you before, there was a guy who literally lived across the street from the school, committed suicide by sticking a gun in his mouth. They listed it as a school shooting. I have now spilled coffee on myself. Oh, well. Shooting never happened at the school. So these numbers they keep throwing out there, these fantastical numbers they keep throwing out there, half of it's not even real. It's bullshit numbers. Kilmel said, sad thing is that one day they evacuated, was my old high school. The other just went on lockdown. And you know what? If there's a credible threat, good, they evacuated it. And if there's a shooting near a school, good, they locked it down to save the children. Great. Okay? Those are things that need to happen. But we need to stop skewing these numbers to get everybody's knee-jerk reaction. Oh my God, it's horrible. We need to do this. Actual shootings on school grounds should be on that list of school shootings, not it happened within a block of the school, so it counts as a school shooting. If the school has to go on lockdown because there's a police action nearby, it goes and it's listed in incidents involving schools. And if you think I'm lying, go look it up for yourself. Look at every one of those things on the list, then find out where the shooting actually occurred. You can and somebody can fact check me on it all they want. I'm telling you right now, I know this because in Gardnerville, Nevada, where I lived, the guy literally lived across the street from the Gardnerville Rancho, the elementary school there, or middle school there, stuck a gun in his mouth and blew his brains out. He lives directly across the street. When you sit in his front yard, you're staring at the school. They listed it as a school shooting. Zion Bryn, station manager, stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater, folks. This don't mean ACAB. This means one made a bad choice and we hold him accountable. Blaming a whole group for one person's actions is the definition of bigotry. She's not wrong. Okay? We're not going to blame the shooter. We're going to blame everything else, which is bullshit. It's the shooter's fault. He made the decision to go in there and find a way to get into the building and kill children. It's not the gun's fault. Okay? Was the teacher that left the door unsecured had some responsibility in this? Yes. Did the cops, for not doing anything and arresting parents who were trying to do something, have some responsibility in this? Yes. But ultimately, the ultimate responsibility for this heinous and evil act is the shooter. Not the gun manufacturer, not the dealer who sold them the guns. By the way, point of clarification I found out when I made the comment on my last show on Wednesday about how did this guy who's 18 working at Denny's be able to afford to buy 2 AR-15s and all these rounds. The dealership had a payment plan that as long as he cleared the background check, he could take the guns home and make payments. Kill Mill said someone reported on a school that installed a security feature that cost $40,000. Security cameras hardwired to sheriffs, hot zones equipped with smoke tunnels, red lines in classes to show visibility. And actually, Kill Mill was $400,000. I saw the same thing you did because the reporter's standing in the hallway. It was $400,000. And he's standing in the hallway, and they go out, and the sheriff's department sees him in the hallway, and they activate the smoke canisters, and you couldn't see anything. Love that. You know, instead of sending money overseas to all these different countries, why don't we invest it in the security and do something like that? I thought that system was amazing. We should have that in every school. It looked great. But of course, as soon as you send $400,000 to per building in a school district, the school board likes to take off the top money for themselves. And by the time it gets watered down, you don't have that much money. Luckily enough, that school actually gave a shit. But yeah, I saw the same. I saw the video of it where the reporter was doing the thing in the school, and it was $400,000. It was like 400,000 was the final rough estimate cost. It could have been a little more, a little bit less, according to what the reporter said. But I watched where they did a thing about it, and it works amazing. And I told you before, if it turn schools into fortresses, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with tax dollars going to making schools fortresses to protect our children. And of course, last night I got in a discussion again about gun regulations and what should we do. And one of the ideas was brought up. Finally, somebody who didn't immediately say, we need to ban all guns. Because it's bullshit argument. It's impossible now. With the rate of guns that are actually in the black market, they're even seeing guns popping up in Europe now that in areas that guns are completely banned. Okay? The thing is, okay, mandatory safety classes. Every time you buy a gun, before you can leave with a gun, you have to pass a safety course. Okay with that. Get rid of what they call the Charleston loophole. Now, if you don't understand what this is, what it is after 72 hours, if a check doesn't come, if the check does not return, saying denied or accepted, dealer has the right to allow you to leave with the weapon, as long as on the agreement that if it comes back denied, you'll return a weapon, which we all know is bullshit. They're not going to return it. They're banking on that to happen, so that way they can keep the gun and the hell with everybody else. I'm okay with closing that loophole. Period. You cannot allow somebody to walk away with a gun from a sale until that background check comes back, even if it takes a month, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. Okay? Don't care. I have no problem when I walk in the gun store. I have no problem if I walk in the gun store and the guy goes, well, the system's not really working right now. I know we're trying to get your background check through. It's going to take extra time. I look at it and go, okay, cool. Not a problem. And I walk out. I had that happen. The guy calls me up 4 days later, said, finally got the message back that your check is good. You can come get your gun. All right, cool. Thank you. Actually happened on one of my AR-15s. It's not bring root cause analysis. People find the actual problems and solve them. Solutions have to fix a real problem. This is garbage and not a solution. Don't fall for it. And for those passionate to fix, don't be gullible. Supporting and accepting a fake solution means you're part of why the next one can happen. Like I said, what I've mentioned, I even agree to licensing, for each gun you own. I don't have a problem with that either. If you tell me tomorrow, in order to own that gun and a couple of the other ones, that I got to go get a license and certification or a license authorization on each one of them, I'll be the first person in line. I'm cool with that too. I'm not cool with the $200 per piece of equipment, per piece of whatever that goes with the gun or the gun itself, taxing, because, well, anybody that's ever owned guns for a long time, you've got a collection of magazines at $200 a shot. It gets expensive real fast. I know one guy that literally the taxes would be more than his house is worth. Why? Because go to a gun show. Hey, we got this new magazine. All right, cool. Let me try it out. It sucks. Throw it in the box in your closet. Well, it's $200 tax for a magazine you don't use. But our neighbors to the north, Prime Minister Trudeau blackface in Canada, has decided to come out and say that they're going to ban all guns Canada doesn't have a constitution that grants them the right to own a firearm. So guess what? He's now going to talk about banning all weapons, all guns in Canada. I can't wait to see how this goes because they have a lot of people that hunt in Canada. They started making comments about mandatory buybacks in the United States. But it has to be a will issue license. You qualify, they will issue. Disqualifications are clear and legal ground and not opinion. Thank you. And you can have that license suspended if a judge determines you are mentally incapable. So say the red flag triggers. Say you do something and you get sent to a mental institution for an evaluation. They determine, we might be able to let you go, but you're not safe to have firearms. They send that over to a judge. Judge rules, you're not mentally stable in order to have your firearms right now. Your license to have the firearms is revoked. Okay. Cop goes, they automatically generate a warrant to go in, seize the weapons, and to put them on hold until they can clear, and which you can. Okay. But since the government abuses the crap out of that, I would rather not have them. Well, I'm talking about your local. Because the thing is, in most cases, unless you live in a major city, you know your local authorities and stuff like that. And then the red flag law works. Like it's supposed to. Because if you have a license, if you have a license for them, and every single one of them is listed on the license locally, right? Then they can get a warrant to gain possession of every single one of those guns. Now, if one of those is missing, yeah, you have to sign an affidavit that states why it's missing. Well, I sold it. Well, where's the record of the sale? Well, I just sold it to a friend of mine down the street. Boom, illegal gun sale. Now you can lock him up. You don't have to worry about the guy shooting anybody because he's mentally unstable. Because background checks do this every time you buy, which is when is needed, not like every 5 years. Now, I understand that. I get you on that. And there's ways that we could discuss, the ways that we could work on this to find an even ground on this. I don't have, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with some additional regulations. I've always been one of those people that was for a national background registry. I've had no problem with that. Run my background. It goes on a record somewhere sealed in the FBI. Then if an issue pops up with me, the FBI is like, hey, he passed a background check over here. Not one of these, we're not sure if the person did it right or this did it that because we don't keep it on file, blah, 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 blah. It's kind of funny. They tell you, well, we don't keep these on file, but you can find out when somebody bought a gun 10 years ago whether or not they passed a background check when they did it. Because because there is a file. And it doesn't say what you bought. It just says that, yes, you did a background check on this date and you passed. Okay. It already exists. It's just not on a national level. But I agree with Zion. If we're going to do some kind of licensing for each one of your firearms, it has to be a will issue because you passed the background and you passed a little safety course. They have to give it to you. They can't turn around. The state's not going to authorize that. They can't just, we don't think so. No, step one, your background's clean. Step two, pass safety certification. Boom. Guess what? Here you go. It's added to your license that you own it. Off you go. Have fun. But like I said before, the psychological construct of society is falling apart. That's one of the reasons why we're having the problems we're having today. Everybody says, it's because guns are more accessible. Horse shit. All the way up until 1950, you could buy a semi-automatic long rifle from Sears and Roebuck. They delivered it through the mail. The whole "we are afraid they will take our guns away" argument is the wrong problem. The problem is we are at the point where we think government would. Is that for the people anymore? You're right. You're right. People are afraid the government's going to take the guns away. And now we think they're actually going to do it. So, and then, of course, this argument still comes up. Well, the Second Amendment's not ultimate and doesn't mean you can go out and buy a cannon. Horse shit. Yes, you can. Madison said so. Guy asked about buying a cannon. He said Second Amendment protects it. He puts cannons on his ship. He's able to shoot at the British, and he was able to shoot at pirates. The guy was not a member of the military, and was not an employee of the government. And he put cannons on his ship and was able to defend his ship against pirates and was able to shoot British during the war. And even still defend his ship after the war. He was still allowed to keep the cannons because the Second Amendment did protect that. So everybody makes this stupid ass argument. Well, you can't own a cannon, so you can't own everything. Actually, technically, there's the only military equipment technically you can't own is stuff that still, some of it is considered classified on how it operates or how it works. Yes, technically, you can go buy a Black Hawk helicopter. Why? A Black Hawk helicopter, the workings of it, the standard stock Black Hawk helicopter is not classified. You could go buy one. Okay? You could go buy an M1A1 Abrams tank. You cannot buy an M1A2 Abrams because the loading system is still not considered a matter of public record. So you can go own a tank. They say, well, you can't buy a tank. Yes, you can. Can you buy a naval ship? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can buy a United States Navy ship that has been retired. You can literally buy one. How do I know? Because somebody literally bought a completely decommissioned destroyer to turn it into a museum. Okay? But it was privately bought. It wasn't bought by a city. It wasn't bought by this. It was bought by a private citizen. A U.S. Navy destroyer. Hell, there's a guy in Florida that owns a decommissioned U.S. Navy diesel submarine. I mean, shit, the Cubans have been buying those things forever to run drugs. So yes, you can own military equipment. You can own military guns as long as the gun, or as long as it qualifies as non-explosive, non-automatic. Okay. I mean, you can't go out and buy an MLRS system and launch rockets on 4th of July. You can't do that. I know it's sad because the amount of stuff you could do. Rathalos is over here. He's like, bitches love cannons. But seriously, you can't buy an MLRS or a Patriot system and go launch rockets on your 4th of July. You can't do that. Why? Software system that makes those things operate is still it's still classified. Now, one day, if they're considered obsolete, they're sitting in Fort Lauderdale at the military surplus yard, and there is an MLRS system because it's no longer classified and the software system, the targeting system is no longer there. Guess what? You can go buy the MLRS. You can launch fireworks till till the national anthem starts coming out of your asshole. So people should ask, are we afraid of guns, or is the real problem, are we afraid of each other? I'll tell you this. You know who bothers me the most when it comes to guns? And I agreed with one of my liberal friends to this. He said, what bothers me the most is like the Meal Team 6 and the Gravy SEALs. I've been at a gun range with some of these whack jobs, and they frighten me because they act like they're all hard at 390 pounds, look like they can't get up a set of steps, without having to stop to take a breather. But they'll don on all this gear and think they're tough shit. Those are the people that bother me. Those are and this is the one when I had a conversation with my significant other about if there was going to be a trigger point that was going to cause the next civil war. And I told it's going to be one of those jackasses that thinks that they're like, say the state of Texas decides to close itself off because shit's hit the fan and the country's falling apart. Okay. But we're still talking. We're still trying to prevent a war. This is going to be one of the jackasses that decides to get stupid, wants to be a hero, and shoot somebody on the other side and starts the war. Because they think they're being a hero because they're living their dreams of being in Call of Duty for real. And y'all seen the type. They buy the 4XL tactical vest that still doesn't fit. Magazines in every single pocket humanly possible, here, there, and everywhere. Even though in the service, when I was in, you didn't put magazines in every single pouch. That was stupid. Because, in the middle of a firefight and you're sitting there shooting, you're really going to try to reach into a pouch that's all the way up here to pull a magazine out of it? No. Hell, by the time you get to magazines that would be up here, you've already gotten other magazines from other people in the firefight. Okay? Those are the people that scare me when you go to a range. And you can identify them. You can see them when you go to gun shows. You see them. You look at them, and they're obvious. Fat Rambo over there thinks he's going to retake Omaha Beach one day. All by himself. Those are the people that scare me. They're the people that I think, maybe you shouldn't have some of the firearms that you have. Okay. But when it comes to, are we afraid of guns, or are we more afraid of each other? You have an entire group of individuals that was told to be scared to death of the people who exercise their gun rights. They've been told the people that exercise their Second Amendment rights are the next mass shooter. So now they're staring at their neighbors. If they know their neighbor likes guns, they're watching them. They're reporting everything they do. That's what makes it a shooting war. We're already in an attempt to revolution, just a cold. And yes, we are. The media has literally, and now with the help of the administration, has almost walked us into a cold civil war. I wouldn't say we're quite there yet, but goddamn if we're not skirting it. God knows they tried inciting riots and everything else around this country. But let's move on to our next topic, shall we? What was my next topic here? Oh, yes, the President of the United States. And his stupid shit. Okay. This guy decided, the President of the United States decided he was going to turn Memorial Day into a political issue. We all should have saw it coming. We all should have. It's right out of the liberal playbook. So let me play this for you. I haven't heard this one yet, so I'm going to be reacting with it right alongside you.
And they showed me a X-ray. He said a .22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we can probably get it out, may be able to get it and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. So the idea of these high caliber weapons is there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of about self-protection, hunting. I remember, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, was never absolute.
Boom. Did you hear that last statement? Did you hear that last statement? The Second Amendment was never absolute. You know what that means. It means they can take it away from you. And they're trying to say you can't own any gun you want. Well, technically, he's right. You can't own any gun you want. You're not allowed to own an fully automatic weapon unless you have a specific federal firearms license. But did you hear what he said? Well, that's also because they have been told their neighbors are bigots and hateful and will be yeah, exactly. Okay, but did you hear what he said? He said that a .22 caliber bullet, if you shoot somebody in the chest, will stick in their lung, and we can get that out. But if you shoot them, a 9mm will blow the lung clean out of their body. What the hell 9mm are you shooting with, Chief? Like, seriously. 9mm is not going to blow somebody's lung clean out the back of their chest. It's not going to happen. You're not even going to do that with a 40. You're not going to do that with a 45. 12 gauge shotgun? Very possible. 50 caliber? Very possible. 223? Not happening. 5.56? Not happening. 7.62? Nah, still no. Won't blow the lung out the back. Okay. 50 caliber, 12 gauge. Yeah. 10 gauge. Those three. Those do it. I mean, you hit somebody with a 35mm howitzer. I mean, fuck, you that person doesn't exist anymore. Okay. But a 22, that'll stay there, which if it doesn't hit the rib first. Okay, if 22, in order to get a 22 to get past the rib cage, you've got to get it in between. Because a rib will break but stop a 22. Okay, 9mm go through. Probably go out the other side. 45 or 40 go through the other side. 45 go out the other side. 50 will make a huge hole. Okay, 10 gauge shotgun. Make a massive hole. 12 gauge shotgun, same thing. 20 gauge? Maybe not. Okay. But this is the guy sitting here telling us about this. Oh, well, you know, a 9mm will blow the lung out of will blow a lung out of somebody's body. No, it won't, Joe. I don't care if you're using hydroshock rounds. That's not blowing a lung out of somebody's body. You're not removing an organ out of a human being. You could shoot somebody in the kidney with a 9mm. It's not going to blow the kidney out of their body. Will it destroy it? Absolutely. But it's not going to remove it from their body. You're not doing organ removal surgery with a 9mm. It's not happening. This is the idiot that's in charge of our country. This is the same one who makes a comment. And somebody else reiterated this comment on social media, and I turned around and said, wait a minute, I hunt with one of those. Well, you don't need an AR-15 to go hunting. The deer aren't wearing Kevlar vests. It wouldn't matter if the deer is wearing a Kevlar vest with an AR-15. Second of all, Joe, you can't shoot a deer. You cannot shoot a deer at 200 yards with a shotgun or a black powdered rifle. It takes a long-range, high-power rifle with a small round that spins very fast, that goes in a very straight line. That's why you can use it. SKS, 308, AR-15. I don't need to go down the list, okay? I use an AR-15 to go hunting in the desert. Why? Because I prefer the platform. I'm familiar with it. I am very proficient with it. So, Joe, shut up. You don't know a damn thing about guns. The bad part is some of the people that are anti-gun even listen to him say that going, I don't think that's right. Okay. One of my friends messaged me today and asked me, Rich, the president said a 9mm would blow a lung out of a human body. Is that true? I was like, he did what? And then my significant other, she turned around, she came to me and she goes, the president said it would do this. And I'm like, what is he, nuts? Oh yeah, the same guy said you shouldn't have an AR-15 to go hunting with because the deer isn't wearing a Kevlar vest. And you're like, 223 round will go through a Kevlar vest. Sure, it's not war on America. He just said inalienable right isn't. He said an inalienable right isn't. So what's the Constitution isn't a thing either. That's a war on the fabric of what America is. The contract is void. Well, and here's the thing. The libs don't think the contract is, or that the Constitution is a thing anyway. They'll tell you it's an outdated piece of paper that has no bearing on this country now. That the founding fathers wrote that over 200 years ago, and now it's outdated. So if we eliminate the Constitution, if we take that stance, folks, say the Constitution's outdated, it's gone. Well, let's see. There's nothing to stop anybody from owning people. So slavery's back on the table. Women's rights can go right out the window. I mean, they're already destroying women's rights now. And I'm talking about the liberals. Okay? They're destroying. And they're like, oh, no, it's the conservatives. Horse shit. It's the liberals. I mean, they're already trashing rights now as it is. Because they honestly, I mean, AOC herself said the Constitution is outdated. Omar has said it. The whole squad has said the Constitution is outdated and irrelevant. AOC made the comment that she thought the Constitution should be burned up and we should start all over again. And it's just like, oh, really? Okay, so that means if you get rid of the Constitution, then guess what? You remember how everybody got in a tizzy about, what was it? That thing that they still bitch about, January 6th, right? Well, if you get rid of the Constitution, you can't prosecute anybody for doing anything because guess what? Now it's not even defined that you can't do that. Even though it's literally was just a case of trespassing on government property. That's all it was. I know. I'll get in trouble for that too. I don't know. I should almost run a ticker of how many things I've said that goes against community standards. And guess what? And my proof that that's all it was? Federal court today found a New Jersey man guilty of trespassing on federal property that actually went into the Capitol on January 6th. Guilty of trespassing on federal property, not the other word. Federal judge. That's what I've been saying all along. But somebody called me a racist white supremacist that, you know, wants to march and overthrow everything and take people's rights away. Go figure. I'm not a white supremacist. The Constitution says that if your government is acting a fool and you honestly believe that, you are granted the right to protest. Okay? We prosecute all these people for breaking the law by trespassing on federal property. Okay, I'm fine with that. But we tried to do that in Washington. Okay, we tried to do that in Washington State when they were trespassing on federal property, and Kamala Harris and the bunch went in and bailed them all out and got the DA to drop and force they bailed them out and made them wait to hold their court dates until after the Biden administration was in office, and then dropped all the federal charges against them. Oh, y'all didn't know about that, did you? Because that got covered up. 47 people arrested for trespassing on federal property, attempted damage to federal property, willful destruction of federal property, bailed out by the current vice president of the United States and the Democratic Party, and then their court dates were withheld until after the Biden administration took office, and the day after he took office, all their charges were dropped. That didn't make it in the news. So my point, let's toss out what makes and defines America and make something new. Contract broken. They swore an oath. We all live by it. That destroys America, makes something new. I mean, we lasted over 200 years. We lasted longer than any other country that tried it, right? I'm not inciting destruction of the United States by all means. I think the Constitution is a great document, is a living document, and we have the ability to amend it, to correct it for things that are needed for modern time. I got Rathalos. The U.S. Constitution was the final draft that our founding fathers said this. It is in history books. Dumbass president and his party. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Seriously. You have the people on the left think the Constitution is outdated. The people on the right think the Constitution is good, but it's a living document, which means it can be constantly added to or altered. Now you got the president running around saying he's talking about banning guns. Today he made a comment about banning. Today he was making a comment that he's going to ban 9mm, which Secret Service, the press secretary that he has now, had to walk that back. Why? Because Secret Service prefers the 9mm. I don't know why. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a certain 9mm that I like. Always works beautifully for me. And it feels good in my hand. But for the most part, I like 45. But the thing is, Secret Service, preferred weapon of issue, 9mm. You're going to ban all 9mm, but the Secret Service uses 9mm. How's that work? That is by definition. Zion Burns says that's by definition a revolution. It could be. I want to give it a little bit more time to work itself out before we're all ready to don our torches and start marching down the streets, retaking block by block. I would really like to see how things work out. We got midterms coming up. There could be some shifts. There could be some moves. We'll see what happens. But let's talk about. Let's get to talk about another thing that's affecting this country right now. Why our government could do something to fix it. And they're not. I'm starting to think it's intentional. All right, so folks, you know that stuff moves across the land in this country 3 ways. Sometimes by plane, sometimes by rail, but for the most part, and trust me, I know this, my family was in the trucking business for multiple generations. Trucks move stuff across the country. Drivers get in there, spend 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months away from families at a time to haul that stuff down the road. Now, it used to be the incentive was we pay good, you make good money, get our stuff there on time, we take care of you. But the problem is, a lot of these companies haven't been renegotiating these contracts for cost of diesel. I'll tell you right now, I dealt with that personally. Okay? Not talking bad about the company, because for the most part, I like the company. But a company that I was contracted with, diesel prices went through the roof. We went to them and said, we need to renegotiate because we're now not making money off of moving your stuff. They refused to negotiate the contracts. Company went out of business. What part? Freedom of speech, freedom of vote, freedom to think, have an opinion, freedom not to be owned. The part where the government serves us, contract to people with government. That's a lot of damn questions. It's not like I could tell the station manager no. Just kidding. Okay. What part do I think is going to get better? Like I said, I would like to give the midterms a chance. I'm one of those people, I hold out hope until the last possible second. But in my head, I plan for if it fails. Let's see what happens if we change it. Now, there's a lot of politicians. It doesn't matter if you change it. Shit's not going to get any better. Understand that. I understand that. I know my faith in the system is really taking a hit. But like I said, I want to see where we go on this. Now, like I said, so you're having this problem. There's a trucker shortage in the United States of America right now. Why is that? Well, because a lot of these guys, independent owners and operators, are not getting these freight deals renegotiated. So they're barely making any money, if not breaking even, sometimes losing money. Some of these truckers are still going out and running these loads to where they're breaking even or making just a little bit of money. But they're not going to keep doing it. They're not going to keep doing it. Eventually, they're going to stop. And when the truckers stop, the freight stops. You can only move stuff on rail for so long. Because here's the problem. Rail car takes stuff to town. Drops off the rail car that has freight on it. They're going to unload it. Where are they going to unload it to? Because the truck has to take it the rest of the way. Where's it going to go? Well, without a truck, it doesn't move. So we're starting to see a shortage of trucks. We've had a couple different things that should be peak season for making money for some of these truck drivers that didn't happen. A lot of them. And a lot of guys aren't making money. They're losing money and they're hanging it up. They're selling their trucks and they're walking out. They're like, we're done. We're not going to do this for free. And these are the people that we asked to keep working through the pandemic. I'll get back to your comments on what's happening with the government and, you know, our freedoms and rights and liberties and stuff like that after I get done with this story. I don't want you to think I'm not addressing it. It's just I'm in the middle of talking about the next story. So I will get back to comments and stuff like that. So anyway, so once again, there was a peak season. There's peak seasons for certain things, and so far these peak seasons haven't been happening. And then one of the things that is happening is these big outfit trucking companies, okay, aka union trucking companies like Swift, JB Hunt, are running around snatching up these contracts. And that's one of the things that's hurting these independent drivers is they are so large that they can do these low-end deals because they're not paying their drivers that much. So they can take these lower deals and still make money. Okay? And they can do that. And it's one of the problems that we're having with 61% of the stuff that we're currently seeing major shortages on. And let me explain to you why. Take a good look at that picture. That's the that's a port in San Diego. Well, it's between San Diego and Los Angeles. Okay. A guy I ran into in the KOA campground is from California. Lives not far out of San Diego. Okay. He's a truck driver. He's on vacation right now. That picture that pops up, seeing all the ships out in the harbor, that's accurate. In fact, by now, at some points, it's even more than that. That's cargo ships sitting out in the ocean, fully loaded with stuff they can't get into the port. Why? Because the port is union. And they have union contract with a couple of the big union trucking companies. They won't let independent truckers come in there. Okay? They won't let the independents come in there. Independents have said, let us into the ports. We'll start moving this stuff. Not a problem. There's guys talking about coming out of retirement if they could get a piece of that action. They won't do it. The unions have it locked up. And they're not sending, and you'd think in the middle of a national pandemic, they'd send every truck they got to get in there. Nope. They still send the same amount of trucks in there they had before. No different. But during the pandemic, when everybody was home, everybody went on these mass spending sprees. Why? Because the government gave them a whole bunch of free money. Factories and plants are shut down globally. So when they started coming back to work, they had these backlogs of all these orders, can't keep up with it. And then they start sending it out. But the trucking companies aren't increasing the amount of trucks they're putting in there. And they're not letting independent truck drivers in there. And whose fault is this? Right? Whose fault is this? Well, good old Pete. Pete Buttigieg, the Transportation Secretary of the United States of America, could declare this an emergency situation and bring in independent truck drivers to go in there, and he could set standard for pay to make sure that they make the money to put the diesel in the truck and to put some food on the table. As a transportation secretary, he can do that. And the president just signs off when he declares an emergency on the situation. And the independent truckers can go in there en masse and start pulling freight and moving across the country. Because 61% of the goods that move across this country right now are coming from overseas, which means they have to come into a port. That port's backed up because guess what comes from overseas to that port? Japan, China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Korea, India. Places like that. Go there. Why? It's closer. Less fuel cost to move the ship across the Pacific Ocean to get to the western side of the United States. And you think, well, is that our only option? It's not. Old Pete here could turn around and say, look, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover your cost to move. Because, I mean, we're sending billions of dollars overseas to other countries and billions of dollars a year and billions of dollars a year. Why not? Could cover the cost of coming through the Panama Canal to bring them into Port of Houston. The governor of Texas has said, bring that stuff to us. We'll move it. We got independent truck drivers everywhere that will come in here and move this stuff. Bring it here. They're not doing it. Why? Who's beholden to the unions? The unions control the port there. The unions are controlling the trucks going in and out of there. Same in the port outside of New York. But they do not control the ports here in Houston. I see independent truckers all day long moving crates, running oil tankers, stuff like that, in and out of the ports over at LaPorte all day long. The Port of Houston, which is actually in LaPorte and that area. See it all day long. He could declare an emergency, get the president to sign off on that emergency, and we could get the freight moved. We could get it moved. Now, I'm not saying kick J.B. Hunt, Schneider, Swift, and all those guys out. Allow them to keep the contract and only run X amount of trucks in and out of there like they have been, but allow the independents to come in. I bet you by the end of the month, you'll see an increase in those trucks coming out of the big companies because they're going to start losing money on these deals. Start giving these truckers tax breaks on their cost of fuel if companies are not willing to renegotiate because the cost of fuel has gone through so high. He could do this. But, you know, more worried about Greta Thunberg talking about we shouldn't have gas cars running down the road and how roads are racist, highways are racist. He's more worried about that instead of being in a cabinet position that can help fix this problem. I can tell you right now, that man right there doesn't know the first damn thing about transportation. He doesn't know the first damn thing about logistics. He only got there because Biden wanted to look good because he wanted it. He wanted a member of the cabinet that was gay. It's the only reason why he's there, folks. That man knows nothing about the Department of knows nothing about transportation, knows nothing about logistics, knows nothing about moving freight. He is in that position because he's gay. Biden wanted to score points. I mean, come on. Nobody thinks that Kamala Harris is even remotely should be the vice president of the United States, let alone anything the government runs. But why is she there? To score points. Why is the press secretary we have now who she is? To score points. We have an entire administration made of people that should not be in the position they're in to score points. Because damn the torpedoes. Screw the country. It doesn't matter if it falls apart. Why? Because then, if it all falls apart, then it can get rebuilt in the image they want. You're saying, Rich, that sounds like an Alex Jones conspiracy theory. Alex Jones predicted this is what would happen with Biden. Before Biden made it, he predicted this the last time Biden ran for office. Y'all called him a conspiracy theorist then. He predicted every bit of this. I mean, I thought the man was nuts. I did. I admit, I thought he was crazy. He predicted all of this. That if Biden won the election, and like I said, this is when he ran before. Okay? He predicted this is what would happen. That Biden would put a bunch of people in positions that weren't qualified to score points with his base, and they would end up almost destroying or completely dismantling the United States in the process. Seems like a pretty goddamn accurate prediction. I don't know about you. All right. So let me get back to some people are still commenting about, your rights as citizens. By the way, somebody threw this out there today, and my significant other asked us, the 19th Amendment is actually where where everyone is given the official right to vote. So somebody goes, well, voting isn't actually a right, because I've seen that argument start to pop up. Well, voting isn't actually right, blah, blah, blah. Actually, the 19th Amendment does specifically state it. Okay. It is where they officially state that voting is a right. The right to vote will not be infringed based on a person's sex. And then it got amended later to add some other things to it. He is gay and follows orders, which means that they can sabotage anything. It was a theory. But actions are louder. Judge them by them. And he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. Like I said, he's more concerned that roads are racist and Greta Thunberg talking about everything needs to be electric. How dare you? Okay. Notice she's nowhere to be found. She's nowhere to be found. Why? They used her for a few minutes to score some cheap political points using a child, and now she's off doing whatever. They used her, and now she's gone. She got her moment of fame. We all make memes out of her. You behind on the... I'm not behind on the chat. All right, I got a notification from the station manager. Hey, you're behind. Let me see here. Let me see what I missed. So, points toss out what makes it America. We talked about that. What that is by definition. What part? Freedom of speech. Give me a second, folks. Going through to see what I missed. Freedom of speech, freedom of vote, freedom to think, have an opinion, freedom not to be owned. What part of the government serves us? Well, I mean, if they rip up the Constitution, pretty much everything you said in that paragraph is gone. They want to change it so it's out. They want to change it. What's so outdated? They're going to make better. Nothing. They want to make better is control and rights away from people. Screw that. That's not necessarily what I said. Now, when we're talking about the left who thinks the Constitution is completely outdated, they just want to get rid of it and make something new, which won't qualify for anything. Welcome to being Venezuela. We'll be a socialist nation, which leads to communism. But we've had that show. GDP of trucking is in the negative. People losing money. Business shutter, and it crashes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said before, based on what they did with giving out free money and everything else, the intention was to crash this. I've made comments before. I made comments before on this that if they can make businesses, if they can destroy businesses, then the government can come in and take it over, and then you have socialized businesses, which means socialism. We're Venezuela. Congratulations. The Greta transition, as Biden called it, this is all intentional. Like I said, Alex Jones called it. And then I talked about he follows orders, which means they can sabotage everything. It was a theory, but actions are louder. Judge them by that. Rathalos over here says the unions suck. Unions had their place at one time, and they did. They stuck up for workers' rights and made sure that workers were treated fairly. And then it turned into a corruption game and all about making as much money as humanly possible. Now tonight I'll probably be shot in my sleep by a union rep. Loyal puppy thanks Pete. Here's a bone. Yeah, pretty much. He does whatever he's told. You know, when everybody was arguing about transportation and saying how the transportation secretary was failing, that was when he went on maternity leave. Awfully goddamn convenient. You're the Secretary of Transportation of the United States, and a supply shortage and a transportation problem, and you take off for 90 days to go on maternity leave. It's awfully damn convenient. You're the secretary of that department that's needed. You can go to work. Okay? You can go to work. Because, trust me, kid will be there when you're done with your job. Okay? If I ever got elected into the White House, honestly, I think Christmas might be the time. No, I had a bunch of comments on trucking. I've got one. You had a bunch of comments on trucking. I've got... No, there they are. That one wasn't there. They negotiate better costs. Okay. That was not there. I quite literally, this was not here. They can negotiate better costs on expenses and still barely makes money, but they are taking they're taking the position to depress the industry and develop monopolies. Welcome to government lobbying corporatism. It's gross. Yes. And that's literally your comment. My station manager is trying to keep me up to speed on things. Literally, that comment just appeared. It was not there before. It literally went from the GDP of trucking straight to the Greta transition. That entire paragraph was missing. They can negotiate better costs on expenses, and they still barely make money. But they are taking it on depressing the industry and develop monopolies. Welcome to government lobbying. Yep, because the unions are getting bigger that are involved in that. The major truck. I mean, bad part about it is I don't know how Swift keeps getting larger. They're killing more people than cancer at this point. Swift is number one in the United States of America for trucking company for fatalities. Number one. It's not independent truck drivers. It's Swift. What was it? Swift actually stands for something involving killing people. And of course, lobbyists going in there. You need to support what we're doing, and we're going to make sure you get elected. Blah 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 blah. Do this for us. Do this for us. Blah 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 blah. And then what happens? Supply shortages. Why? Because now they control it. Now they control the speed of the movement. The government doesn't. But the government can fix that. Like I said, Pete can declare it an emergency. The president signs off on it, and boom, he now can get things moving again. But they won't. They're beholden to the unions and their lobbyists. Like you said, corporatism, which is correct. But that's what's happening. Crash the system. The unions run it. Then they control it. The government's no longer in charge because they won't step up to them. They won't stand up to them and say, That's how it works. Back to the same old problem. We have laws to protect everyone and keep things fair. Follow them and hold those who break them accountable. Corruption is killing the country. And corruption's on both sides, folks. It's not just the Democrats. You got it on the Republican side, too. You got it on the Republican side. Here's the problem. I've lived broke my whole life. I'm going to get into office. Somebody goes, hey, I'll give you a couple $1,000,000 if you make sure you pass a bill that benefits me. I'm going to turn around, I go, bro, I was broke going into this job, probably be broke coming out of this job. I'm cool as long as it doesn't change me. I mean, come on, that's why I never got my knighthood. I wouldn't change myself in order to get something. I am who I am. Unfortunately, because I wouldn't kiss ass and do what they wanted, I also found myself not being able to play amp card anymore. Go figure. And that's the kind of person I am. I'm not going to change my values because you want to give me money. I'm not going to change my values because you want to put something on me. No. I am who I am. Like it or leave it. It's your call. I frankly don't care. That's what got me into trouble with that organization. Like it or leave it, I don't care. And that's how I will be as a congressman. My people elected me to be their voice and to do things in their as a representative. Well, we'll give you lots of money if you take care of us. You didn't fucking vote for me. You're not part of the people that I represent. So go pound sand. Go take a walk. Well, you're going to miss out on our money and you're probably not going to win your next election. Shit happens. I'll get done what I can get done now. I'm not going to destroy my values for you. And that's where this shit happens. Look at Harry Reid. Okay? Harry Reid, rest his soul. Okay? Harry Reid, when Harry Reid was the senator from the state of Nevada, nobody knew who he was. He was pretty low on the financial scale. But as a U.S. senator, somehow came out the other side worth over $170 million. And everybody knew who he was at the end. Okay? Me, nobody's going to write books about me if I ever make it to Congress. Except this is how you don't become this is what you don't do as a politician if you want to be one. That guy stood up for values and stood up for the people that voted for him. That's not how you be a politician. Why do you think they work so hard to get rid of Trump? Has anybody even really stopped and thought about that? Everybody turned. Well, he's racist. No, he wasn't. What did he say that was racist? Well, because what he did at the border. Biden's doing the same shit. Except he's letting a lot more people in. Obama did the same shit. Bush did the same shit. How is Trump the racist? It's because he wasn't one of them. And he pushed back. Yeah, did his Twitter feed get too stupid? Yep, but he wasn't one of them. And he was who he was. You got who you were. There was no hiding who he was. And that's why they worked so hard to get rid of him. Okay, we can't have that. They can't have that up there. Break their fragile little bubble. You know, back to the same old problem. We have laws to protect everyone to keep. Oh, we already talked about that. Hold people accountable for their actions. We should. But there's a lot of morons out there when they walk into a voting booth. They vote party. They don't research their candidates. They don't make informed decisions because voting's hard. Some of y'all do so much damn research to be able to debunk everything that one person says. You take half that time to understand your candidates, what they really stand for and shit they've really done, and look at the record. You realize, I don't think I'll vote that way. But a lot of people out there that vote party lines just do what they're told. They march right along as they're told. What government actually fears is not the population as a whole. What government actually fears is independent thinkers. People that actually use their brain. That's who the government fears. And that's why you saw Jen Psaki saying that Facebook needed to go after these people. That YouTube needed to go after these people. That Twitter needed to go after these people. Not because of misinformation, because they were independent thinkers. Was there some idiots out there sending some bad intel? Oh, yeah. They're like the morons running around telling you, grandma's secret to knowing formula. Use milk. Well, here's the problem, jackass. Milk from when your grandmother was a first-time mother is a lot different than milk that you see now that's mass-produced at a low quality in order to make the most amount of money. Okay? Goat's milk. If any of you honestly believed that you could supplement formula and thin it out with goat's milk, you shouldn't have had a child. You frighten me. Zeinbrand, they take an oath to the Constitution and people. Don't be a trainer to that. Won't make money. Don't be a traitor to that. Or it won't make money, but it's service after all. I'm not thinking if I make it to Congress that I'm going to come out a multimillionaire. My whole theory about making it to Congress is to actually make some legitimate changes that will benefit the people of the country and the people that, and my constituents that voted for me. Not the constituents that tried to line my pockets with money. The people who literally voted for me to be in the office. I don't care if I come out of the other side with the same amount of money I had going in, dead broke. Don't care. That's not what I was there for. I wasn't there to make money. If I want to make money, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll start a Ponzi scheme. Chaos reigns. I vote for whom I vote for whom my God, and I vote for with my gut. Okay. I understand your position on that. And as long as you stand behind that position, then you're fine. It's these people that vote the way they're told to vote. Oh, you should only vote for this guy because he sucks. Or he's good, but this guy sucks. And you don't even look into it yourself. You don't ask the questions. It's like the shooter in Texas. Nobody's asking the question. They're only blaming. It's this fault, this fault, this fault. Ask why. Legitimately ask why. Why did this happen? Why is it this way? What is going on? Why did we legitimately have gun safety class in high school? Now we can't, and people are shooting up the high school. Why? Why? Ask the questions. Don't immediately be the first person to go out there and get famous by saying, this is why it happened. Ask the questions. Okay? Legitimately ask the questions. That's where we are failing in this country. We're not asking why anymore. We're just trying to blame. We're trying to be the first person to make a negative post on social media to make ourselves famous. That's why. That's what's happening. I want my 15 seconds of fame because I'm the one that figured it out. No, you're part of the problem. Ask why. And when we can get an answer to why, then maybe we can come up with a solution instead of just trying to say it's somebody else's fault. That's how you fix the problem, folks. Ask the questions that need to be asked. In fact, it's like taking a line from a movie. Even though the guy likes to hit comedians, take the line from the movie. I think it was iRobot with Will Smith, when he's talking with the doctor that has a pre-programmed set of responses. And when he finally asks the question, the question that needs to be asked to make him think, the doctor goes, now that truly is the right question. And when you get to that moment and you come up with a solution to that question, then maybe we can fix this problem. Maybe we can fix the things we have going on. But nobody's asking the question. Everybody's pointing the finger. And here's the problem. When you point a finger, this is why you don't point a finger. Because yes, I may be pointing a finger at you. But what's happening? 3 of my fingers are pointing back at me, so evidently I'm still the problem. So don't point the finger. Ask the question why. Let your brain do some exercises. And see, that's why we in the military, we use knife hand, because everything is pointing at you. Okay. Ask the questions. Figure out solutions to those questions. And we'll fix it all. And everything will be right. Just don't do what you're told. Think. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know I keep talking about wanting to do phone calls, but it's gone late. I am literally probably losing weight right now in sweating. I filed a complaint to the HR department and said, hey, of course I got a letter back going, Mr. Wilson, you have been in violation of HR policies for so long that we feel that you can file these complaints, and then once it's even, then we may take it into consideration. All right, so I got a lot of filing. I got to start spamming HR. I'm kidding. I'm joking about that. I really am. Folks, all right, hold on. Another comment came in here. They vote the way the media tells them to, and the media says, fear thy neighbor, and these guys will fix it all, but never say who caused it. It's because they're always looking for blame. Everybody's looking for who to blame instead of the answer to the correct question, and then the answer to the question. Why? Why is that? Because it's easier to point a finger than it is to come up with a solution. That's why. It's laziness. Instant media telling you what to do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Whole action committees out there telling you what to think, what to do, how to feel, how to argue it. It's laziness. It's laziness. Don't be lazy. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. We went on for an hour and a half tonight. There's no rule that says how long the show can go. Because I don't have like another guy coming on after me. It's not like, now for the next go. Jack the Stack Mac. Live with all your tunes from the 70s. Okay. I can take the show on as long as I want. And sometimes I ramble on and then I watch my numbers go. You know, because people are just sitting there. And then their computer times out and shuts off. So anyway, folks, have yourselves a good night. Remember this tonight. Stop looking for the blame. If you find yourself going, I wonder whose fault it is. Ask why. Why did it fail? And you come up with a solution. That way it doesn't happen again. Ladies and gentlemen, for everybody here at the world famous Rich Wilson Show, I'm Rich Wilson. Thank you, Dave, very much. Dave's over there going, can we go home, man? Yeah. All right. You guys have yourselves a wonderful night. For everybody here, don't do anything I wouldn't do, which doesn't leave you much room for error. And for everybody, station manager, and all the staff that we have working here, the millions of people that make this possible, that I've never met and probably hate the show. Because they don't know this is happening on their platform. You guys have yourselves a wonderful night. We'll see you later. All right. We're gone. We're out of here. Bye-bye.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.